first person to graduate since I started growing this goddamn horrid beard. And so when we post the picture on the website, people are going to wonder who took over the Verdina. Who's standing in for Greg to do the traditional toast. So we'll see if they can make the mental stretch. So let's start out with the science. So Shaunna was not the first person in the lab to work on telomerase. I think you're the second person to do a really serious thing. Yeah. But what's different about what Shaunna did is that Shaunna took the brave step of actually trying to wrestle this extremely difficult, complicated enzyme to the ground biochemically. And I think one of the most interesting things that came up in the thesis defense was the statement that, well, when you were at G3, no one knew that the following and the following and the following. In other words, not only is this an extremely complicated system, but it's a moving target. It's one that's been moving for as long as Shaunna's been working on it. And it's one that really serves up delights and surprises. And it's one that I think isn't going to be figured out anytime soon because of the levels of complexity. Imagine a target in which not only the composition of that target, like what the pieces are that go into building the thing, change, but the shape of it changes along the way. And the shape changes are fundamental to what you end up with in the end. So it's extremely complicated and challenging and so on. And it's for those reasons that telomerase has not yet wielded in any meaningful way to the kinds of structure determination that we all use so routinely to understand how things work. So that's makes it biochemically a very difficult system, and to take that on in the lab in which no one else is working on it really took a tremendous amount of bravery, and it was, I have to say, it was amazing to watch you in action as Shaunna took on yet the next extremely difficult system, which required, I mean, you just can't tell it from your talk today, but the amount of development work that it took to get every single one of these assays working, where if we were working on one of our favorite DNA repair proteins, it might take a few days. And here it involves you go into cells, you put a piece of DNA into cells, you pull the thing out of the cell, and then you purify them, and then you ask whether it's the same, whether it's tremendously, tremendously complicated. So what you may not have quite appreciated today, because Shaunna, I think, very significantly understated it, was how challenging technically this was, and how Shaunna really surmounted every single one of those technical challenges, and how much fortitude it took to stick in there and to do that. So I think the first toast has to go to you for really having mastered the very, very, very technically challenging area and having done it with incredible grace and without a tremendous amount of complaining. So that's really a very, very special achievement. So cheers to you for that. I think, secondly, we were musing about this today, is like, okay, we've got this mystery, so Shaunna's leaving us with a really great mystery, which is, well, maybe you're leaving us, maybe you're not, but you're moving on from your PhD with a great mystery. And I think one of the things that you and I have to figure out together is, what's the next step? And so just to put you guys all in the role of, lab PI or whatever, you have a situation where is an area that involves incredible technical mastery. One person is the the bearer of all that technical mastery. And when that person goes on, you no longer have the technical mastery. And you know that the next person who comes to pick it up, if you don't have a transfer of technology, is really going to be a very, very significant challenge. So that's, for Shaunna, something that we have to figure out. But I think at the end of the day, as you put it so well, you found a molecule that does something really, really, really interesting, and that actually has a pretty good chance to achieve one of the greatest goals of chemical biology. I mean, really, what chemical biology is at the core is the discovery and use of small molecules to elucidate unknown biology.
That's right. He's off, dude.
be careful not to slip.
I'm too excited about chemical biology.
So the goal of chemical biology is not to get a drug that inhibits whatever. It's really to create inroads into biology in the unique way that a molecule that perturbs things can provide. Right? There are unique kinds of tools. So I think the ultimate deliverable, if I can call it that, from your thesis has been a molecule that I suspect will end up in the next phase of this, whoever does it, whether it's us or someone else. But it really has the potential to crack open a new window into telomerase, and it really does feel that way. I mean, we know it's a mystery, but it really does feel like this is something which is going to crack open a piece of the mystery in the next phase of things, and will forever have your name attached to Oligo.24. So here's to Shaunna and the discovery of Oligo. Now, Shaunna also has taken on another role that all of you know ranges from thankless to, it's not quite as bad as group assignment of group chores. Well, maybe it's worse. And that is the group social coordinator, and it's really a critical job because the social coordinator helps to keep us all glued together socially, which is really, I think, important to being ultimately glued together scientifically. So Shaunna really did that job fantastically well, had lots of creative ideas, collaborated with the rest of you. It really does take someone who's a quiet leader, I think, and so I think you're the epitome of the quiet leader. And so I wanted to both thank you and commend you for having done such a terrific job at that, not only just for me, but really for all of the group. So here's to Supreme Extraordinaire Social Coordinator. And one thing that I particularly like and plan to show when I'm 85 is Shaunna came up with what I think is the best group open house poster ever, and that is I guess you did it together with, well, anyway, you were crucial to coming up with this group poster, which is the silhouettes a la iPhone. No, you didn't do that? Oh, I thought you came up with that. Okay. Well, anyway, you helped to tape them up. So you helped to tape up the best group. So we'll drink to that anyway, whoever did.
I think it was Marie.
Oh, was it Marie?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was Marie.
All right, maybe I used that at Marie's graduation. But nonetheless, I'm putting out the challenge to whoever does it next year.
Yeah.
And so then finally, I think one of the things for all of us is we're here not just to get science done, but we're here to educate people. That is core to our mission is educating people, what's unique about our environment, and people don't understand it, when they look at me and, you know, I actually am kind of neglectful of teaching, but anyway, they say, well, you people, you know, you have to sum it off and all that kind of thing, but they don't realize that, you know, people who are in a graduate laboratory are teaching all the time. And they're teaching, in the case of Shaunna, teaching Tomek, who came into the lab knowing zero. It was a wonderfully quirky guy who we really tried hard to get into MIT,
yes,
and who really, you know, belonged to be at MIT. I think we both agreed. But Shaunna did a fabulous job. It's a special place, I think, you know, in my heart, that's reserved for the person who will take on a high school student and be their startup, you know, their real introduction into real science happens often, I don't know for how many of you, but happens for the person who takes on a high school student. And yet, you know, we're all a little bit reluctant to do it because it's a heavy lifting job. So Shaunna not only did that important job, but I think did a lot of teaching to a lot of other people. I know you had many other people to acknowledge in your talk, but you have been also very frequently acknowledged by many members of this lab, and also I think achieved distinction in your teaching in undergraduate courses here as well. So I think it's important to acknowledge that and to commend you for it as well, that it's a really, really important thing. It's not just what we get done in the lab, but it's who we teach in terms of the next generation. So congratulations. Here, here. Here. So that's all I'm going to say. I'll get out of here before I make any more stupid mistakes. And I'll leave it to you guys to have more champagne, to have some food.
My friend Jill made these science